Did you hear that? See if I can get it to do it again. It's okay now. Tough to get it to do it again. Anyway, you heard it. This is it's a dog moaning upstairs. But this is a Yamaha YP-211 with a wavering speed issue. And that's coming up next on Turntable Guy. Hey, welcome back. So, like I mentioned there in the teaser, we have a Yamaha YP-211 with a wavering sound problem. That's what the gentleman said. He sent me a video before he dropped it off, and I thought it might be a bad belt, but it was definitely not. The belt's okay. I've already checked it, and it seems to happen after a little while. So I'm not sure if we have an electronic problem or a mechanical problem. I'm going to guess the latter just because there's so little to these. This is a CEC manufactured turntable. It's very similar to Realistic, Hitachi, that kind of end of the market. They're all kind of the same. But this one has the Yamaha branding, and it tends to bring a little bit more money on the market when they're up for sale. And the Yamahas had these distinctive kind of beige platter mat. But it's just a belt drive. It's a semi-automatic. These operate a little bit differently. You have to bring the arm over and then hit the play button for the arm to descend. Let's open it up. We're going to service it anyway because it's never been serviced. The belt's been replaced. He just bought it not too long ago, supposedly. And the previous owner or seller said he replaced the belt. This belt is okay. It's not too tight. So it's got a little bit of elasticity there. Not enough to crank on the motor. So I really don't think it's a belt problem. The spindle doesn't feel good at all. It feels like it doesn't have any lubrication at all. We're going to check that out, as we always do when we service our turntables. This is actually my head shell. I did test his. It's got a Shure M91E on it, and the stylus is shot. Now, I have a feeling this may be an AliExpress stylus. These things are horrible. Don't buy needles off of AliExpress. They are absolute junk. So do yourself a favor, avoid that, because there's plenty of needle on it, but it just sounds like garbage. So I'm going to mention to him that he might want to buy a needle or just replace that cartridge altogether. So we'll be testing it with my cartridge. All right, we'll take off our anti-skate weight. So this guy who sold it made a little string for it, which is cool. You can do that if you lose the original string. And we'll take off our counterweight. And we should be good to flip this over. Okay. I've got a bunch of screws here, so I'll take those out and I'll be right back. Okay, so we have a cardboard base here, nothing particularly special. And as you can see, there is not a lot to these turntables. They are well built. Most CEC turntables are well built. But as far as what could go wrong, as you can see, there's no electronics here. The motor runs on line voltage for speed stability. And there's the cap across the mains lines here, and that's it. So really, there's nothing that can go wrong electronically here. So what we're going to do first is we're going to service the motor, make sure it's properly lubricated. Then we'll service our main spindle bearing, and then we'll have a look, and maybe that'll take care of it. If not, we're going to have to perhaps condemn the motor. I'm not 100% sure at this point, but let's service it first. Trying to get you in frame here. So this table is pretty similar to the, I believe is it the YP-4? I think they're very similar. I don't know if this was a Canadian model, the 211, but I do see quite a few of these come across my bench here. So they obviously sold pretty well, and they look really good with, ow, that hurt, with like a Yamaha CR series receiver or CA series integrated amplifier. They match up real nice. Cut myself. Good old puncture wound. All right. So the rubber is nice and pliable here. So the motor suspension's good. And, ooh. Huh. Okay. Now, I'm not sure if this is the problem or not, but there is a lot of belt residue on this pulley. Really bad. And this could cause the belt to slide up and down as it's turning. As you can see, I'm just chipping it off with my finger here, my fingernail. That's how bad this is. Wow. Okay, well, maybe that's part of our issue here, because if you, as you saw in the teaser there, when I would slow it down manually, it would waver, and then it would go back to normal speed. So it could very well be this. Anyway, let's hold off on any judgment until we get in here and give this thing a good service. Okay, so I'm just going to put my marks here so I know. So we gotta go, that's where ground is. That aside. I see some lubrication on the motor there. Somebody may have dropped a couple drops of oil within the bearing there. It doesn't feel bad. I think we will take off our pulley as well, because I'm probably going to give that a cleaning outside of the table. Okay, here's our top bearing cap. Looks okay. So like I've mentioned a billion times, within this circular area here is a spongy, foamy, felty material which holds oil and lubricates the bearing. So we're going to put some oil back. And we're just going to use a little bit of 3-in-1 electric motor oil. Not the regular 3-in-1. And as you can see, I'm just putting it around, and it's getting absorbed within. Slap up the extra, and put our bearing cap back down. And we'll do our bottom. Okay, the bottom bearing is pretty dirty, I'm going to say. A little bit of buildup here, so we're going to clean that with a little bit of alcohol. Yeah, that's not good. That's pretty dirty. Get that nice and clean. Make sure there's no buildup on here. Just checking it with my fingernail. And as far as the bearing is concerned, same thing. We're just going to give it some oil. I'm going to lubricate around. Make sure the oil gets into that felt. It'll go down. You'll see it get sucked in. Okay, and then just put that back. There we go. And flip our motor back around. And we can put our screws back in. This is nice. The nuts are held in place, so you don't have to worry about playing with bolts and nuts on this one. And just get screwed right in like that. And we'll reattach our ground. Get that nice and snug. Yeah, the motor feels great. Okay. Now, I'm just going to pause. I'm going to go and clean this pulley, get it nice and clean. Usually what I do is I clean it while the motor's running, and I get a Q-tip soaked with alcohol, and I rub it up and down while the motor is spinning the pulley. But I'm actually going to take this one and continue just to scrape off all this gook here with a little bit of a Scotch-Brite pad, and I'll be right back. All right, it is beautifully clean now. I just use a little bit of a degreaser and a Scotch-Brite pad and just turn it around here and get rid of all that belt gook. So that's gone. So we can put this back on. Okay. Take our screw back up. Don't strip this screw. Snug, doesn't need to be super tight and cranked on. Okay. Clips back on. And when the turntable gets turned back right side up, what happens is the motor drops down and it gets off the plinth and it sits on these rubber bushings, and that's what keeps it noise and vibration free. So that's why these bushings are extremely important that they're in good condition, because if they start to deteriorate, the motor won't be sitting in the right spot, and it'll start to hum like crazy through the plinth. Okay, that's that. Motor service done. We shall now do our center spindle. I think we can just pull it out with, yeah, this one's easy to do, I think. Pull this. And then flip our table. Let's remove our dust cover. And our spindle should come right out. And yeah, there was a grease in here at one point, excuse my head. There's a little ball bearing down there. I think it's a pressed-in bearing. We're going to give this a cleaning. I'm really hoping we have a mechanical problem with this turntable. That's not something in the motor, like a dying coil or something. I'm currently working on and not recording a video on a system deck. What is it? This is IIX. Well, wouldn't that be IIX? If IX is 9, is IIX 8? I don't know. Anyway, whatever it is, it's a system deck turntable, Scottish built, and it has a bad motor. I've replaced all the components on the power supply board, and there's no change. And when I went to measure the coils in the motor, one side is super high resistance. So we got a bad motor, and that's unfortunate. So they do go bad. You don't see it very often in these. These are pretty bulletproof, but I have heard about those system decks and bad motors. Usually they say it's a phase capacitor, but I changed that. Changed the resistor, and no go. So unfortunately that one's got a bad motor and there's nothing I can do about it. Unless the owner wants to buy a new motor for it. Okay, we're going to clean out the bearing here. Some alcohol on a Q-tip. Pretty dirty. And most of the grease has migrated to the top here. You can just see it. So it's not in the bearing anymore. It's, shit. It's in another spot where we don't want it, which is at the top here. And it's hard like a rock anyway, so. This is why I don't like grease in bearings. I much prefer oil. Here's some more of it. Probably have to do this one a couple times. And I have a feeling once we do all this, I think our speed issues are going to be history. This table was in dire need of maintenance. Amazing how filthy this one is. Very dirty. Okay, that is probably good enough. Alrighty, I'm just going to use the same stuff. I'm going to use the electric oil. It's perfectly good for bearings. And we'll put a few drops in here. 1, 2, 3, let's go with 4. And just a little bit on the spindle here. And then we're going to push that back in. And that's a lot better already. Feels much better. Okay. So that is really all the service on this thing. Let me get the base back on. We'll get the belt back on, and I'll be right back. Okay, we're back up top. We're going to take care of more cleaning here. We're going to clean the inner platter to make sure the belt's got a nice clean spot to rotate on. Just a little bit of IPA again, just clean where the belt goes. The belt itself is clean. I'm not going to bother with that. And we know our pulley is spotless. That's brand new. So I think we can at least, at the moment, test. And we'll plug it in. And start it up. It's probably going to auto return. Okay. I'm just going to check to see where the belt is riding on the pulley. I'm just going to stop the platter here. And it's right in the middle, which is good. So we don't have to adjust that at all. It's nice and quiet. Excuse my head. It's beautifully silent. Let's just do a quick speed check here. If I can find my speed test disc. Speed is, which is pretty typical for these decks, it's a smidge slow, but it's not wavering. And speed on these units is usually very belt dependent because you cannot adjust the speed in any way. So you have to hope that you have the correct belt, and most of the stores out there do not sell the right belt. Okay, so it looks okay at this point. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set it up, and I'm going to play a record. Obviously, I can't do that with you guys watching. And I'm going to wait to see if, in fact, it starts wavering again. It seemed to happen when the arm was around this point. And I don't know if that had anything to do with it or not, or if, you know, if it's a heat issue. I don't know, right? I'm just hoping that the maintenance that we did has solved the problem, but I won't know until I do a test record. So I'm going to pause here and I shall return. All right, I have been testing this for approximately, I don't know, around an hour. Gone through a few records now, and it has not once done that warbly sound again. So I think we have fixed the issue. If I were to guess what the issue was, I would be very certain that it was the pulley on the motor. The belt residue that was on there, it was very, very thick, and it was very uneven, and I have a feeling that the belt was moving up and down on the pulley. The pulley has to be completely smooth, so the belt has a nice rotation on there, and the belt will tend to stay in the middle of that pulley. But if you've got all this guck on there, the belt's going to ride up and down, and that's what we were seeing there. And even just slight variations in the belt going up and down would be enough to throw it off, let's say, a couple RPMs on either side. So it might have been going from 31 to 35 or whatever, right? So, and that is very noticeable. And but since then, I have not heard anything. This needle that came with this turntable is god awful. It has no bass, it has no mids, and no highs. It's all mid-range. I'm guaranteeing you this is an AliExpress needle. Stay away from AliExpress for your needles. And they're not cheap, because nothing on AliExpress is cheap anymore. Listen to that, eh? No slam, no nothing. Just horrible. Garbage. That needle is absolute garbage. But we fixed this one. So it's just a mechanical issue, nothing electronic on this one. Very simple turntable, very nice turntable. But boy, does this one need a cartridge. Anyway, guys, that's the Yamaha YP-211 with wavering sound. If you have one of those and you have the same issue, check your motor spindle and your motor pulley. And while you're at it, give your motor a good service and service your spindle. This one was horrific. All the oil, all the grease in it was all dried up, and most of it had come to the top and spilled out. So there was no more lubrication. But this one's done. And just so I'm going to pull you off of here for a second here. I want to show you something. So, oops. So we just did a CEC Yamaha. Over here on the floor, there's that system deck I was telling you about. This is a much nicer Yamaha. This is a PF 800, and I believe these are made by Microseki. This one's coming up next. It needs a service, and it also needs the queuing fluid replenished in it. So keep your eye out for this video, and we'll catch you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.